These articles and videos about this millionaire who sold his company and is now building 99 tiny homes to help out those in need seems great on the surface. It's going to be built on a patch of land, but I have questions about the realities of this project. Is it actually helping anyone? Where is this located? Is it just a glorified trailer park? I don't know. So I went ahead and found out. See, these are great, eye-catching headlines that are great for marketing and really good for SEO. I mean, you look this stuff up and you're going to find it immediately. But is the marketing just making it look good, or is it actually a good thing? This video is about community and livability and the rise in the cost of living and finances and transportation poverty. And let's not forget, as per this channel's vibe, how you shouldn't have to own and maintain a personal vehicle to participate in society. Super important, but a lot of people in North America just straight up forget about this. Of course, I do have solutions. So let's get into it. My first question was, where is this located? So in this most recent article here over on November 25th of 2023, they are nice enough to add the location. So it's nestled next to a Walmart on Fredericton's north side. So I did some hunting on Google Maps and it actually doesn't show up yet from a satellite view. But I went over to Street View and found that it's located right here. My initial thought is that it was going to be in the middle of the boonies, like just absolutely in the middle of nowhere, next to nothing. And the answer is a little bit of both, in that it is actually next to amenities and it is accessible by bike, just not directly, and you don't need a vehicle. So this is great because I saw this last year and I thought, is this in the middle of nowhere? Like, that would be so useless because the cost to own and maintain a vehicle is prohibitively expensive.
How do you pay for food, car insurance, plus pay for an apartment? And one person just we can't do it. Knowing with this place, it's only 30% of your income. That gives you a lot more room to, breathe and not worry.
If you are coming from homelessness, and you are on employment insurance and you're on disability, you're only getting, look at this, you're only getting a small amount. Check out this article. Over in New Brunswick, which is where this tiny home community is, over in Fredericton, has the lowest social assistance rates in Canada. And so there's a lot of deep poverty going on. There's this chart down here. There are people who are only receiving $8,000 per year of a social assistance. You would have to make up to $24,000 to hit the official poverty line, but deep poverty is over here around 18 or 19,000. Bonkers, absolutely bonkers. Okay, back on track. The good news is that this tiny home community is right next to amenities. So theoretically, if you needed food, you could wander over to Walmart, and yes, this Walmart has a grocery store, so yay, that's awesome. And another little bit of good news is that Fredericton itself is only a 30-minute bike ride across from one end to another. Now, it might take you a little bit longer if you're just chilling at a nice pace or if it's winter. I do have solutions to this, but it also might take you only 20 minutes to traverse all of Fredericton on an e-bike. If Google Maps says it's like 30 minutes from one end to another, I always say, okay, it's going to take me about 2/3 of that time on an e-bike because it helps me on hills or with headwinds or other variables. So about 2/3 of a biking time if you were ever wondering about how long will it take me to get there on an e-bike. The bad news though is that it is actually still difficult to get around outside of a car, but you technically still can. And so here comes the solution. This is my solution for these people in this situation who live next to a Walmart, but also fairly far from downtown. And if you get pretty crazy winters and such, and the trails are not all paved and they're disconnected and you might need to go over some curbs, etc., I would recommend an electric fat bike. This is weird because normally I don't actually recommend fat tire bikes because they're kind of useless in the city. But when you get to a small town that may have access only by gravel trails, like they have a rails to trails system in Fredericton, it looks like, that would be perfect. If you have to go over gravel, if you have to make your own way and make it work without a car, a fat bike might be your best choice, especially if, let's say, for 3 months of the year, because it's Fredericton, it's a bit chilly and it's maybe slippery or there's snow, etc. A fat bike, like it would get you there and back across Fredericton several times over. And on those days where you're just so tired, depending on the work that you're doing too, you might have to do 12-hour shifts, especially in these people's circumstances. And if that's the case, you might be tired at the end of your shift. That's what the electric assist really helps with. I swear, like, it's a car replacement for the majority of the time. And for all of those people about to jump in the comments and say that you need a car because of rain and winter and all of that, no, you just need the proper clothing, and that is still infinitely less expensive than a vehicle. And you use them like a jacket, guess what? You wear that all the time, so you're not really buying it just for cycling. You don't need any special things. And then gloves for the winter. We use them all the time for winter. It's not just specifically for cycling. And same with shoes and like the rain pants that you can wear. You don't need snow pants, although those are nice. But again, all of those things you can use without having to use them for biking. It's not really extra money that you're spending. And another bit of good news is that there is a sidewalk or bike lane going across the river and going across town. There's side roads, and you can make this work. Like, it's not perfect. They could probably do with a better bike infrastructure, but it's possible. One more thing is that there's a misconception that if you are a trades worker or a construction worker or working at a factory or in the industrial section, that you need a car because you need to haul things. No. Like, just for context, I worked in the oil field in Whitecourt, Alberta, which is about 176 kilometers northwest of Edmonton, Alberta. And so it's a town of 10,000 people. And oh my goodness, oversized parking lots because of all of the trucks. I swear there's a truck per capita. Like, it's bonkers. Everyone drives a truck, everyone idles, everyone's just in the oil and gas or forestry industry. It's bonkers. Guess what? One, I didn't really fit in. Two, I did actually go buy a bike for $100 on Kijiji at the time, and I rode that thing to work because you don't need a truck to get to work. Once you get to work, the majority of places, if they require you to drive, like a delivery worker or in construction or this or that, they'll give you a vehicle to drive because it's a work truck. They don't want you driving your car because that's unreliable and it's a variable. What if you showed up with, well, a bicycle? Or what if you showed up with a Hyundai Accent and they needed you to haul a trailer? It's not going to work. They need no variables. Employers don't want variables. They want, hey, here's your standard F-150 work truck, no crew cab, because all you're doing is you're hauling this from A to B. Done. Why would you, as an employer, want a variable? So that misconception, I just want to kill right now. No, you don't need, if you're in the construction industry, you don't need a big truck. So there is that. Just to make me the official spokesperson of living in small towns and being able to bike still, after buying my $100 bike, again, I would go to and from the oil field, and then I was working at TELUS at one point as a telecommunications technician. So I would bike down this big hill and get to the office and jump in the work van. I had a car at the time too, but I was trying to save money, and I'm like, sure, why not? And so I biked. But not only that, I biked from a trailer park. That's right, Ben, right here. I lived in a trailer park in Whitecourt, Alberta for about 8 months or so. So, like, really, it's similar to the tiny home community. But before we get into why tiny home communities are better than trailer parks or apartment buildings, let's run some numbers. It's important to realize just how dire the financial situation of those living on social assistance in New Brunswick is, and how something like this 12 Neighbors community can be a real, literal, and figurative lifesaver. The gap between how much social assistance New Brunswickers receive compared to how much they would need to just get to the poverty line is the widest compared to all other provinces in Canada. In fact, social assistance in New Brunswick is so low that it keeps many people in deep poverty forever. Like, just consider these numbers. I'm gonna read this off. In New Brunswick, single people considered employable receive about $8,030 annually. For a single person deemed employable, the poverty line is $24,395, and the deep income poverty threshold is at $18,296. That means that it would take $10,000 just to get these folks to the deep income poverty line, and more than $16,000 to get them to the actual official poverty line. Single people living with a disability receive $10,884 per year, which isn't much better. They are still living in deep poverty. So how is it possible for someone to live on $8,030 per year? Let's ask hypothetical Sally that we just made up. even with incredibly subsidized rent from 12 neighbors being at the low end at just $200 a month or $2,400 per year, it's still 30% of Sally's annual income. That leaves just $5,630 per year for everything else for the entire year. Food, transportation, clothing, medical bills, entertainment, you name it. Everything else has to come in under $5,600. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Now to the financial breakdown of savings. Imagine the demographic that this tiny home community is serving. So previously they were homeless, and now they're paying $200 of their monthly income on housing. That's pretty amazing, actually. However, vehicles are really freaking expensive. And yes, technically, somehow in some crazy world, some of these people may go ahead and acquire a vehicle because they have lower shelter costs, and now they can have their money go to a vehicle. But is that smart? No. No, just no. When you are making so little, any little expense adds up quickly, incredibly quickly. And vehicles aren't even a small expense. Keep in mind that it is widely recognized that the average cost of vehicle ownership in North America is approximately $10,000 per year. That covers a lot of different things, but if you want to fight me on that, just go check out the CAA or AAA sites. Those are like the numbers. They're probably even higher now because those were from, I think, 2 years ago or something. Like, you cannot win. Vehicles cost a lot, especially when you need to be focusing on stashing away every single dollar and penny and just making and building that emergency fund. It's so important because if you don't do that, you may have to rely on high interest loans. Or even worse than high interest loans are predatory loans, which are like 50 to 70% if you actually look at the math. You take 1,000 out, you're going to be owing like a kidney. So anything that you can do to not have to do that is so important. And by the way, it's not even just a financial thing. There are so many people in this world, but even specifically with this community, that they are not able to drive. We're not dealing with ages here. Typically, they're over 16 here, so they theoretically could get a driver's license based on age. But a lot of these people were homeless, and they may not have a license, or they may not have the capability to get a license because so many different reasons. But one of those could be disabilities as well. So we can't just say, oh, get a car. One, finances. Two, all of the other reasons why you can't just go get a car. Now, back to the tiny homes, these are just one part of the solution. They give stability to those who had nowhere to call home or lay their heads or even to prepare a nice warm meal at night. That's amazing. I'm so glad, but it is just one step to rebuilding their life. Now we answer the question, why are tiny home communities better than trailer parks or apartment buildings? Can you guess? It's actually really simple. Community and support. The charity that is responsible for this 99 tiny homes community is named 12 Neighbors, and it believes that this is the best model to achieve lasting transformation in reducing poverty and homelessness. On their website, they have 3 objectives: permanent housing, personal development support, and progressive employment. So, community becomes the healing agent by active management. There are staff on hand to help residents with substance use and counseling if needed, as well as counsel people to achieve housing stability, grow social contacts, set goals, and develop skills to work. People just want to lead a full life. They want to reintegrate into society, especially after having fallen on hard times. Sometimes they just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and so with some stability, their brains are able to reset. People want to care and be cared about. If you lose that, you lose the will to live and the want, the need, the desire to reintegrate into society. As one of the last points as to why tiny homes are the better solution, it's that there's a psychological community. Everyone has their little home that's cute and you can manicure it, and it's your little parcel of land rather than an apartment or a trailer park, which it's a trailer park. But these are meant to be a nice, stable environment for those living there. In closing, this 99 tiny homes community is very catchy for marketing purposes, and it actually is not a scam. I don't think so. This seems very legit. This project isn't about building tiny homes in isolation, which is what I was worried about from the very beginning until I started researching the location of this area. So this isn't just another trailer park. It's about building a wholesome community where those who've fallen on hard times can be part of a motivated community that supports them in a stable, cozy environment.